So we are on Ois Mem Dalet, which is at the bottom of page Kuf. And we spent an enormous amount of time and effort and focus to recognize the phenomenon, the principle of Milo and Mata. This we recognize on a general like Moichin and Blessed Midas, and then within each Midah itself. If the Midah themselves, there is how they relate to the outside and how they relate to themselves. And all the way down to Melucha, which is primarily to the outside. The Melech is a Melech on his flock. He's not a Melech on himself. There is no significance of being a Melech unto himself. This principle of going to the outside is denoting a general madrega, quality. Something that is of a real quality has an internal to itself experience. And as we say in Seichel, if one recognizes in Seichel, in Moichin, a certain truth, it's significant for himself. And he actually experiences that truth that he realized. It's elevating to him. Let's say the very fundamental principle of knowledge. Breishis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz. At the beginning is that God created the Shamayim and the Oretz. This understanding is extremely elevating to the human being himself. It is not something that is valuable only if he can share and debate it with somebody. Just in his own life experience, this is of extreme significance to him. This is how it is on the real score, so to speak, in Hasoga, in Moichin. That which requires an interchange and a kind of a discussion and debate and so forth, and a comparison that is not of the same criteria and same status of reality. We all understand that. So this is the principle that we were learning. That there is Milo and Mato. There's a higher quality and a lower quality. A higher quality is that which is self-satisfactory, satisfying, and an internal sense of value. A lower quality is that which lacks an internal sense of value, and its value is defined by its effect, its external effect. All the way down, which is true in every sphere, in any midah, chesed, gvura, tiferes, love, and gvura, chesed, gvura, and then there is and then there is malchus, which is entirely defined by its external effect. There is not an internal significance to malchus. Okay, now we'll pursue further. We're on the bottom of page Kuf Eishmem Dalet. All right, I just want to preamble that we're going into greater intricacies in these principles. And at some point we will reach and we'll see that we do not have sufficient background to go any deeper into this. And we will then take a little hop and go to the next section. But we will try to go as far as we can. And as long as we have some sense and understanding and we can relate what is being explained, we will pursue it. Oismem Dalet, ubezohar Pasha Pinchos. Ubezohar Pasha Pinchos. Daf Reish Nun Zayin Amud Beis Isa. It says in Zohar the following: the whole sphero, that each sphero, every sphero, is law shem idio. Now, sphero is the same what we refer to as midas. Actually, sphera includes not only midas. Sphera means all the ten kachas, starting from Chochmah all the way down to Malchus. Every sphera, each law, shem idio, it has an identifiable name. The word shem is a name. Idio means a known, a knowable name. In other words, it can be identified by name, which means it can be identified individually. As great as it is, it can be still surmised individually of what it is. Shem idio, a known name. Is there anybody out there? Yeah. Along with that, there is umida ugvul utchum. Umida and measurement. Gvul means boundary, or
border.
A border. Utchum is a boundary. And this is what permits it to be named by a specific name. V'yesh loimer. Okay, let's see if we can call some meaningful insight over here. Yesh loimer. It can be said, in order to understand this in you, the mido, that the measurement, hu hamedido, that refers to the measure, be'etzem mehus umadregas hasfira. The reason we're going into in some kind of a subtle type of explanation is because the meaning of a mido, a measurement as we understand it in our world, it is all relative. The measure, let's say, you have a house, and the house has a certain measurements. These measurements are not intrinsic to it being a house. A house can be, in these measurements, can be smaller and it can be larger. The measurements that are actually identified in a house are influences on many criteria. Number one, how much room you have, how much real estate you have. That measures the size of the house that you can build, and how much resources you have, and so forth. In other words, these measurements are not intrinsic measurements of the term house. The measurements that reflect many other criteria. When we talk about the measurement in the sphere, we say that the medido, that is the measurement be'etzem mehus u'madregas sphere. This is a measurement that applies and represents the essential reality and the madrig of the sphere. Its measurement is not by any kind of external effect, and not by, so to speak, by facilitation. In order for it to have a place to be, it has to be measured. It is a measurement that represents the measurement of the sphere itself. If the sphere, so to speak, would need more room, it would automatically have it. It's not because of external limits. It's a measurement that represents the etzem mahus, the essential reality, and the madriga of the sphere. This is the medida, this is the measurement. We will try and kind of focus in and dig in a little bit more. But right now we're learning inside, and we can understand what the Rebbe is saying. It's a measurement that represents the essential reality of that which is being measured. Shehachochma hi, where the chochma is bimhus madreya kuzu. The chochma has its particular criterion that defines it as chochma, and thus it has this type of a mahus, this type of reality, and this type of madriga, where it stands. Not because of any external effects, but because of what it is itself. Vehabino, and then the bina, is bimhus madrigo acheres, is in a different standard reality, and represents a different aspect of reality and a different madriga. And the similar inyan is true by all the spheres. the aspect that divides them and distinguishes them, be'etzem madrgosa, at the essential level of their madrega, ze inyan midah. This is a mido aspect. In simple terms, we have Chokhmah and then we have Bina. Chokhmah has its criterion, what defines Chokhmah. And the Chokhmah is limitless from an external perspective. Its limit is only to express and reveal what Chokhmah is. Chokhmah, by definition, has a certain meaning. This meaning is what limits what Chokhmah is. And then, when the definition of Chokhmah has been fully defined, then comes another sphere, it's called Bina. Bina has its own criterion and its own madrega and its own significance. And that significance is what defines it and what measures it, what limits it.
Is that its mahus? Is that its mahus?
That, when you say that, means what?
That, this, so to speak, this distinction between one and the other, each having a specific mahus, it would separate one from the other?
Yeah. What we are saying here, if you want to, I said there's going to be a limit how far we will be able to pursue this, but we'll try as much as we can go. What we are saying is that there is an end to Chokhmah. The reason that there is an end to Chokhmah and allowed the Bina to come in is not due to some kind of an external limit that is superimposed upon the Chokhmah. Rather, Chokhmah definition has its defining element. And its limit is when its defining element has been fully expressed. This is when Chokhmah is identified by its limit, and then Bina comes in. If Chokhmah would choose, so to speak, to go further and retain still its Chokhmah quality, he would be able to go further. Nothing would hamper it. The reason that it stopped at some point is because that's the point where Chokhmah has been fully expressed. Which is its mahut and its madriga. I would like to give us some kind of a handle on this. Coming back to our erstwhile table. Every table has its limit. Its borders, its size, and so forth. There are superimposed limits on table in terms of how large the room is and what resources you have and so forth. But then there is what one would be able to call an intrinsic limit to table. A table is not only a board on four legs, but it is a board on four legs that allows for access to be used and to sit around it, and not only to sit around it and to use the top of the board, but also to sit around and to see your partner across the table, to be able to communicate. The table facilitates its communication, and if it is too large for that, and the two people sitting across the table can't hear each other, or cannot pass whatever it is they need to pass it to each other directly across the table, then the table has exhausted and gone up beyond its definition as a table. It becomes an obstacle. The similar inyan, we can transpose this morsel to spheres. Chochmah has its criteria. When Chochmah brings to the fore a concept of the unabridged truth. But then the whole principle of the gili, of knowing Chochmah, is in order that the Chochmah should thereafter affect the world, illuminate the world with Chochmah. In order to do that, it has to have its limit. And we have already mashal for this. As it says, and we learn it many times, that the light that was created the first day of creation was a light, a supreme light, that Adam was able to see with it from one end of the world to the other. So we say it's wonderful. But then we realized that light, it does not serve light as in the world. It actually negates the whole phenomenon of a world. And therefore that light had to be concealed. It doesn't belong here. It's not light in the world. It's like having a table going from one wall of the room to the other wall of the room. It's a table, but it's not a table.
I'm trying to think what the in the world element would be regarding Chochmah. But the example given of the light, it would have been like too much. Time and space would have been nullified.
If Chochmah were unabridged,
Right, you would have had no before and after. There would be no limit.
Okay, let's take Chokhmah at the lower level, like in sight. Sight is a proper allusion to Chokhmah, and there's many similarities in the fact that sight is effortless. You see whatever there is, every truth, or the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You even see sky, which has no parameters, no tangibility. So now let's see. I'll jump out a little bit broader. Contrast not Chokhmah to Bina, but Chokhmah to Rotz. Because Chokhmah is rooted in Rotz. You cannot close your eyes to Rotz. You could close your eyes to sight. You could close your eyes and not see. And this fact that you can close your eyes and open them, that is the definition of sight. Rotzen cannot be so maneuvered, because if one loses Rotzen, he loses life. Rotzen does not have this kind of a measure. It's a different quality, it's a different madrega. It's an absolute constant. And yet it functions as Rotzen, and it's an absolute constant. On the other hand, sight, Chokhmah, does permit for opening your eyes and closing your eyes, of looking at it and not looking at it. And this is why Chokhmah is instrumental, is the beginning of a world, of a different kind of reality than Rotz. A reality that can be identified externally. Yet, we say, sight is unabridged. I see whatever there is to see. It's not that something hides it, blocks it from me. Nothing blocks it. I see whatever there is to see, and yet there is a limit element in this experience. And this limit element of this experience is a primary definition of its function, of what it is.
This limit element is a primary characteristic. It does seem like elsewhere we say Chokhmah looks to the truth itself.
That's right.
Implying no limit.
That's right. No limit as to what it's looking for. But how it sees it because it found it. Like I said, sight.
It found it showing on discovery.
There's an element of discovery.
And presentation.
That's right. They say the phenomenon that you can close your eyes and open your eyes is a primary an element of sight.
Right, I'm just trying to think about what that means in terms of Chokhmah.
This means that in Chokhmah there is awareness of the Chokhmah. Remember we spoke about Brum Shebiyam versus Brum Shebiyam Bosha. An interesting thing about Brum Shebiyam. Brum Shebiyam do not close their eyes. Their eyes are omni-open. This is why Klum Shebiyam do not have Chochmah, do not have Binu, do not have Das. They have no criterion as to what they see. Klum Shebiyabosha do. They know what they see. It's a different kind of experience.
And this knowing what you see is not just that you didn't see it and now you do see it, or it is that it's as simple as that element of discovery. You did not have it and now it's here.
No. As I said many before, we see implicitly, we see effortlessly. We see because it's true, not because we invade to its limits. We don't see the table versus the chair because the table ends and the chair begins. No, we understand what the table is intrinsically, by its own value, and what a chair is by its own value, not because of its limits. Okay.
And that points to a sphere with gvul.
That's right. This is what a medida in Chochmah, and this medida enables Chochmah to then imbue it in its realization to Bina.
Okay, and how's all of this not just like what you call humanism, everything according to a human scale? Like we had the mash of the table, it seemed to come down to it fits human function. It's too far, it's too close.
Your question is
Off track.
not. Your question is a loaded question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Implying that it is the human experience that creates this function. False.
Right, I understand. Right, but one may think that, but okay.
False. That is not what it is. Yes, the human being is so created that he should be a wise and knowing creature, not like a fish. But he is so created, he was given these qualities of Chochmah and Bina. To then be able to stand up in one place in the world and look at the whole world and then start building it. All right, we have to interrupt. At least we introduced the singing. What is going on today?
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, good morning, good morning.